use JS templating. So not just any templating, but I'd say JavaScript templating. I'm kind of a bigot about this, but I'm okay if you totally disagree with me. I don't care. It's my opinion. It'll probably change in a year or two. But this is, if I met myself from 5 years ago, I'd have a good argument. So I have no problem with people having a different view. But I love the JavaScript template for what I said, because my bits are all in JavaScript. JavaScript's easy to throw up on a CDN. JavaScript can run on the client, can run on the server. No other language can do that. So, end of argument. I mean, really, it's really a cool thing, and it's been something that's only happened in the last few years with Node coming on the scene, then Mustache, from a JavaScript template in like 2009. We didn't have this before that. I was searching for something like this in 2008 and early 2009 for Netflix because I got tired of the templating being different on the server and on the client. We'd write some logic and stuff, and we'd have like JSPs or tags. Then I get on the client side, I have some kind of jQuery templating or something, and I started playing around with String Template, which was a Java template language used on the Java side. We wrote a jQuery plugin that modeled the same String Template language, but it wasn't very satisfying, because this is satisfying because they just all compile down to JavaScript, and not all of them, like some of them do runtime. Yeah.
What's your favorite JavaScript rendering library then? Like templating on it?
Template one? Well, we're using Dust right now, and you blame me for choosing it. I love it. I actually like it. I like it. There's things I don't like about it. I don't like the fact that the founder disappeared off the face of the earth. Don't know where the hell he went. We can't contact him. We never got a response from him. LinkedIn can't reach him. But it's okay. We forked it, and both LinkedIn and PayPal are active on it. So we're going to make sure it lives and lives well. Dust. So what I didn't like about Mustache, I both loved and didn't like about Mustache, was Mustache is so pure about the separation of the data from the from the actual rendering that you have a hard time doing some simple things. What Dust gives you the capability to do is add some helper libs. So you can write a helper lib and you can get it to do some extended functionality for yourself. So you got the benefit of macros and kind of like tags. You just have to be careful not to go crazy with it. Like there's LinkedIn added, and we use it and add if. Because sometimes when you get in these template languages, you'll end up creating lots of partials. And that kind of gets to be like a little virus that happens. You create all these partials, and it gets harder to manage. When if I could just do an if, I do this or else do that. So the if is kind of powerful. You can put a little bit of JavaScript in there, but it breaks that data contract where you just say, I got a Boolean, I'm just dealing with, it's just data. I don't care. It's either values present or not, or it's a list and I iterate. But sometimes you need to break that a little bit, it seems. And, so Dust is sort of like a little bit ugly, but it's very practical and works, right? I think Handlebar is really powerful and does good. But I haven't kept up too much in the last 4 or 5 months because I've been heads down getting this other stuff going. It's probably changed totally since then, because at that time there were 25 or 30. There's probably 100 now. I don't know. What's yours? Do you have one that's your favorite?
We can't find
We haven't found anyone
No.
liked.
Yeah.
I like Angular's approach.
Yeah, Angular, yeah. I'm
but
hearing that.
There's some other stuff with Angular I don't think
Yeah.
is quite ready for prime time yet.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the approach.
Yeah.
I think you agree. We both really like that templating aspect of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Some of the rest, it just didn't seem quite right.
At the end of the day, it's sort of like I was telling some other people earlier that we had a guy with an eBay who did not like Dust at all because the way it rendered, the code it renders for the JavaScript is not very efficient. It could be more efficient. But I haven't seen any problems on scale. LinkedIn is actually running a lot of their site now on it, and there's no issues. So I'm like, well, okay, if there's no issues, yeah, it's a little ugly. We'll get around to fixing that at some point. We could probably clean that up. I don't know, or we'll move to another templating language. It's not that expensive to do that, right? So where was I going with that? But I think the point being, the template language is something you can change down the road. The thing that I think is most important in my mind is that idea that it generates JavaScript, right? Now that's what I didn't like about, I think it's Ember, because Ember kind of combines several things together. You know, it forced you to use Handlebar, or at least did. It may have changed now. I like, no, if I want to use Backbone and I use Dust, I can do that, or Backbone and Handlebars or whatever else. I don't want something to put too much together for me. Some people like underscores templating. It's real simple.
Yeah, underscores templating has been the only one I've actually
Yeah.
kind of been drawn towards. It's just here's your string, here's your stuff, slap
Totally,
it together and
totally.
just keep going.
Yeah,
It's almost as if JavaScript, if they have like a triple quote or something where I could just do a multi-line.
exactly.
and screw
No,
it up.
I do. In fact, LinkedIn, what they're doing is on the website side, they're using Dust. On the mobile side, they tend to use underscore. And they have another kind of data template language they use to kind of present to the mobile side. So, but I just think the concept of templating, it's funny because when I got to Netflix, the team had not been using JSP tags at all. They had written a whole Java hierarchy to do formatting. They call them formatters. And it's a typical pattern, anti-pattern of code where you create some hierarchy that self-replicates itself. So, you know, you have like the Q table formatter, the Q table row formatter, the Q table row column formatter, the Q, and then you have to have more adjectives onto the classes because the hierarchy gets deeper and deeper. I kind of call it the Taco Bell anti-pattern because you go to Taco Bell and you got to have all these adjectives, you know. The super deluxe chalupa chicken fajita combo, blah, blah, blah. If you don't say it just right, you get the wrong thing at the window, right? Or the Starbucks one, right? You know, all the, you know, double espresso latte, blah, blah, blah. And you get these names that become more and more bizarre. For the Q at Netflix, we had 120 Java classes that were formatting the Q. This Q page, you know, the DVD Q page. I mean, so Darren I brought over from Yahoo to work for me. He ripped all of that and we replaced it with, you know, just simple. We tried FreeMarker for a while, but it wasn't working for us, and we used JSP. But
What did you like about FreeMarker? I love FreeMarker.
it was performance. It killed us to scale.
Oh man.
No, totally. We did full-on tests with it, and what happened was it actually cratered on our site with the scale we had. It could not handle the load, so we went back to JSP. Yeah. And there was also issues with, they had some really crappy code at some point. We fixed some of it, but the crappy code around the way they locked, you know, and did some crazy locking mechanisms, and we would just hang and wait there, you know, and yeah, it was bizarre. So yeah, we jettisoned that at the time and went to. They may have fixed all this since then, but. So we went to JSP and tags and stuff, and then he had like 5 helper classes, and that replaced all that whole hierarchy. But all it was really trying to do was templating. All that formatting stuff, which is a glorious way of doing templating. And I continue to see people do this even today, where they'll create some monstrosity. You're like, well, that's just a template. Just use templating. So that's one of the biggest educations we as engineers, you know, especially front engineers and stuff. There's all these tools out there, all these things out there. It's easy not to know what's out there already. We need to know these kind of big class of things to use, like, you know, like this. Use the power of CSS, you know, obviously, you know, you got, you know, media extensions, you got everything else. You can prototype really fast, these sort of things. We use less, some people use Sass. To me, it's, again, throw a dart at the wall. I almost don't care. I mean, I'd probably be too cavalier about it. But less, Twitter Bootstrap already used less, so it was like, well, you know, it kind of settled the debate because they've been arguing forever about less and Sass. Whatever. Okay, it's less. How'd you decide that? Well, we put things on the wall and we threw darts at it. That's literally how we felt when we picked jQuery over YUI at Netflix. You know, at one point we really threatened to do that, was actually put them up there and have a dart game, and everybody be blindfolded and throw darts, and that was going to settle the argument. So sometimes I think that's the case. It's really the bigger picture. There's good gradient generators, you know, stuff like that. Of course, these are obvious. APIs are your friend, you know. Grab some public APIs, mock the data up. Use Node, create, you know, quick modules to interface with back-end wacky systems, and it gives you access to that and gives JSON back. Nice way to do it. Of course, JSON, right? Use the cloud, right? Use a cloud service, use, Amazon, use Nojitsu, Joyent. If it's something proprietary, that's a trickier situation. Fortunately, we have now finally have our own cloud services from the eBay and PayPal that we can start to spin stuff up. So that helps. But you need to get your code live as soon as possible with a URL. And it gets good if you can pick a solution, a cloud solution that already has a node hosted. Components, I've said it enough. You're probably tired here in Twitter Bootstrap. Twitter Bower, I mentioned earlier, but it's what it is basically is a service that fronts GitHub and allows you to find components and install them. We're doing the same thing I mentioned earlier too, something we're calling Garnish that allows us to do that internally with ours. And then there's a few other little things. I asked the team, hey, what's some of the stuff that you see us kind of falling into traps with as we do the new projects? And some of these are like, resisting that whole desire to beautify the design, focus more on the learning and that, lean UX track. Use a tool like Asana. Have you seen Asana? It's like, yeah, you know it?
Very good.
It's very good in it.
So it lacks a graphical display.
What's funny is I tweeted that a couple days ago, early yesterday, and a guy used to work for me at Meebo, who's a really good designer. I love the kid, Andrew Watterson. Responded back and said, I'm glad you like it. I think he's working on that tool. So I sent him back a note and said, are you actually working on this tool? Because I knew it somewhere else. It wouldn't surprise me because he had that elegant simplicity. And at Meebo, we were using Boot Camp and a bunch of other tools. We were trying to figure out how to get a collaborative environment going. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's not the designer for that. Yeah.
Have you seen any external services that utilize its APIs to create a graphical display of tasks or anything like that?
No, I haven't. Yeah. I had not used this, but Samir on my team had been using it at his startup for the last little bit. So when he came into PayPal, he started using that. So what Asana is basically, it's like, in essence, like a distributed to-do list in some ways, task management. You can see what everybody else in the team's working on. You can communicate and collaborate. And it's just, I don't know, how would you describe it versus like a Basecamp or one of the others?
Well, I think your collaborative to-do list is pretty apt.
Yeah. It's like a collaborative whiteboard almost, right?
Yeah. And it's got RSS feed integration, notifications. You can assign tasks. You can comment and attach files to particular tasks. So and you can have multiple projects and different workspaces and do custom things like show me tasks with this tag and that tag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't have anything for time tracking built in,
Right.
which is worth considering if you wanted to have something like that in your workflow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I tend, that's something people say they kind of want. It's the thing I usually don't want because it just gets to be, it's extra baggage.
yeah, and it has arbitrary formatting for things, so you can just come up with your own paradigm, but it won't do automatic calculations or anything like that.
That's cool. Good.
Yeah, I watched their original kind of before they even launched
Yeah.
videos that they, I don't know if it was a startup pitch or something, but they're basically trying to replace Notepad was their goal because everybody's using Notepad and they're saying we want it to be as simple as using, Notepad.
Yeah.
So just taking those line items and making them collaborative.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely dig into it when I get back because if my hunch is right that Andrew's working on it, then I want to get the inside scoop on that. The other they mentioned was testing on real devices early and often. Because it's we now have the problem of not just these. We used to be all about the browsers, but now, what is a mobile device and what is a laptop and what is a tablet? It's like a whole spectrum and. So being able to test and see on those devices is important. Of course, GitHub, continuous deployment, those sort of things.